Hare Krishna, everyone. Danvat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Let's chant Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapad Kamlam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Satam Sajivam Sadhvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakaltarupyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jai Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमति भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारणे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंगायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनातारणं परमानन्दमाधवं कृष्ण चैतन्य ईश्वरम् गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः हरि बोल. Okay, so let's start. We were on verse 14, chapter 14, verse we had completed till 15th. So anyone wants to share from last class? Any questions, thoughts, realizations? Okay, so we had talked about the three modes of material nature. What are their qualities? What do they cause? And where do we, how do these modes manifest? How one mode can be prominent at one time and then another mode can be prominent at another time in a jiva, right? And how we get tied by them, like the goodness ties by happiness and knowledge, the passion ties by the fruitive activities, the ignorance ties by illusion and madness, right? And then we talked about what destination each person, each mode will go to. So mode of goodness will go where? A person who's in purely mode of goodness. Yes, Vidhi. Upar. Okay. Okay, so upper planets or upper classes, right? And what about what happens to a person in mode of passion? Where do they go? Beach mein, huh? Madhyasto, like Rajasa, right? So yes, in the middle. So basically, they'll stay on earthly planets where they can keep on enjoying in sense gratification and keep on doing fruitive activities, right? And then what about the mode of ignorance? Tamasic people. Yes, Vinita.
Animal kingdom.
Yeah, I was going to say he takes birth in the animal kingdom.
Yeah. What was Namita Mataji? What were you saying?
Yeah, same thing. Like the the planets below the earth in animal kingdom.
Right. Lower planets or lower species, right? So lower species can be animals, birds, plants, something, anything. And lower planets where the consciousness is poor, because that's how they spend their time in poor consciousness. So based on what our consciousness level was, we will get that kind of destination, right? So this is what we discussed. Now let's go to the next verse, 14.16. So we'll take 16 and 17 together because they're linked. 14.16. Let's recite and read. Karmana sukritasyahu
Karmana sukritasyahu
Satvikam nirmalam phalam
Satvikam nirmalam phalam
Rajastu phalam dukkham
Rajastu phalam dukkham
Ajnanam tamasa phalam
Ajnanam tamasa phalam.
Okay, can anyone read this?
I can read.
Yes.
The result of pious action is pure and is said to be in the mode of goodness. But action done in the mode of passion results in misery, and action performed in the mode of ignorance results in foolishness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, let's read next one also. 15.17. Satvat sanjayate jnanam
Sattvajanayate jnanam
rajso lobha eva cha
rajaso lobha eva cha
pramada mohautam so pramada mohautam so
pramadamohamso
bhavato jnanam eva cha.
bhavato jnanam eva cha.
Okay, can anyone read this?
I can read it, Mataji.
Yes.
From the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From the mode of passion, greed develops. And from the mode of ignorance develop foolishness, madness, and delusion. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Vaidehi, for reading. Okay, so let's take these two together. So now Krishna is telling us what are the results of acting in different modes. So let's see both of these together. So the first one, he was saying the result of pious action, meaning in mode of goodness, is pure. Pure, he says, nirmala phalam. In the Sanskrit, he says nirmala phalam or sukritasya, meaning you will get good credit for those. Not spiritual credit, but you will get some pious credit for, or sukriti. Sukriti ka matlab hota hai credit. So you will get sukriti or you will get some credit for a action in mode of goodness. Like you did some charity for someone, you were doing some knowledgeable activities, creative activities in peacefully, right? So then your actions are pure and you get some sukriti and it's a nirmala phalam. And that will bring you happiness, right? So if you look at the next verse, he says real knowledge develops. So knowledge and happiness develop from the mode of goodness. Okay. Then he says in the action in the mode of passion results in misery. Passion, we already talked about, it means doing fruitive activities where we are me-centered. What is the benefit for me? Mera kya fayda? I'm working so that I can get money, so that I can get name, fame, so that I can get promotion, so that I can feed my family. All this is fruitive activity. So that results in misery. Okay, that results in entanglement. That results in ultimately frustration and anxiety. Right? And from the end, remember, mode of passion also means sense gratification. We are just trying to satisfy ourselves. We are just trying to satisfy our demands, my demand, my body's demands. So it is all about sense gratification. क्या खा लूं, क्या देख लूं, क्या बोलूं, क्या सुनूं, right? किससे बात करूं, ये सब only for my sense gratification, right? And that leads to greed. Greed develops, and I'll talk about how that happens. And then the third is the mode of ignorance. So mode of ignorance results in foolishness, right? Because this is nonsense, right? Ignorant people are just doing some nonsensical action. They're intoxicated or they're just sleeping the whole day, very lazy or very depressed or very morose. They don't have any, they don't do any good actions or even fruitful actions, right? Nothing. So they're not beneficial for themselves or for anybody. So their actions are just foolish. They're just wasting time on this in this human body. So that is foolishness, and that leads to again in the next verse Krishna says the same thing: foolishness, madness, and illusion. In if you look at the Sanskrit, he says it leads to pramad, moh, and and ajnanam, pramad, and moh, meaning illusion. So in this way, what we have to understand is that goodness is a good platform to be on. At least we should try to situate ourselves in the mode of goodness. We understand that, right? We should at least rise ourselves to mode of goodness, where we are doing good, pious actions, where we are thinking about others also, where we are not just me-centered. We are doing some charity, some beneficial, pious work for others. Even if we are doing karma, we are doing our profession, we are doing it for the other person's benefit, not just our own, right? So that is at least mode of goodness. And we know that mode of goodness is not our destination. It is not the highest goal, but it is better than the other two modes, right? So this person is very, has very divine qualities. This person has very Brahmanical qualities. They are tolerant, they are humble, they are peaceful, they are patient, they enjoy their skills that they have, they use their creativity for their knowledge, for getting happiness, right? Ultimately all those things are all material, right? Whatever sacrifice you do, whatever charities you do, whatever pious work you do, whatever in your profession you're doing things to help out others, all those things are material. They'll give you material credit, so you will get to good destination, right? We understood that they will go to good destination. It has nothing to do with spiritual life at all. But the only way mode of goodness helps with spirituality is that it is very conducive to spiritual life. Meaning, a person who is already in mode of goodness has many, many nice qualities that he can now start working for Krishna, that he can start advancing on a spiritual path. He will develop that hankering for spiritual realization or self realization. He will start asking questions because he's very nicely situated, self satisfied person. So he will ask questions: who am I? Where did I come from? What is my goal? Where do I have to go? Why? Because this person is in mode of goodness. So he does not have many fruitive demands. He's not very much in sense gratification. He's not getting angry. He's very patient and tolerant. He's getting knowledge, right? So when you get knowledge, even if it is material knowledge, you do get these questions, these hankerings. Where did I come from? Is this the purpose of life? Is this body really me? What is my destination? Is death the end of everything? So he will start asking questions. So mode of goodness is just very nice and conducive to uh, go on the path of self-realization, right? So at least we should try to situate ourselves in mode of goodness. The mode of passion is, and let me show you the document that we made a couple classes back. This was our document. Mode of passion is very, where person is very, very active, very, very ambitious. I want to work for money, for other propaganda he has, right? I want to get promotion. You remember, I want this. There was this guy who said, "मुझे हर 3 साल बाद boss का boss बनना है." हर मुझे अभी मेरे पास ये वाली कार है, then I want, my goal is to get Lamborghini or Mercedes. So they have trishna, they have hankerings that are unlimited hankerings, unlimited desires that can actually never be fulfilled. He thinks I want to become just a lakpati right now, but then when he becomes that, he wants to become crorepati. Then he wants to become more, whatever more and more zeros he wants to keep adding. So there is no end to that kind of trishna, that hankerings this person has. So he has unlimited desires. If you look at here, unlimited desires or hankerings. So he constantly engages in fruitive activities, right? He wants to achieve more and more. And he wants to achieve sense gratification. So let's write here something, that concept that I think you're all very much aware of. So Krishna said this mode of passion leads to greed. We also wrote it leads to greed. So I'm going to explain how that leads to greed. So this person has a lot of desires, right? We know that. Now desires will either be fulfilled or not be fulfilled, right? If the desires get fulfilled based on our if the desire is not fulfilled based on your previous knowledge, can you tell me what will happen to that person? Uski koi desire hai, the desire did not get fulfilled. How would that person feel? What would happen? Yes, ma'am.
You'll get angry.
He will get angry. Yes. Can you say a shloka to prove that point? That if the desires are not fulfilled, you become angry. Yes, Vaidhi.
Is it the Dhyato Vishayantu?
Yes, please recite.
Dhyato Vishayanpunsa Sangastishu Jayate
Sangat Sanjayate.
Sanjayate Kama Kamat Krodho Vijayate. And Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha Sammoha Smriti Vibhrama Smriti Bhramshad Bhuti Nasho Bhuti Nashad Pranashyati.
Greed bowl, yes. So this was from second chapter where Krishna said that when you have these desires which go unfulfilled, then you will develop anger and frustration and lamentation. ऐसा क्यों हुआ? मेरे साथ क्यों नहीं हुआ? Why didn't I wanted to get into medical school? Why didn't I get into medical school? Huh? So an unfulfilled desire will lead to anger, frustration, lamentation, right? And what happens if the desire gets fulfilled? I wanted one laddu and I got the laddu. Now what will happen? Let me see. Okay, whether he knows. Yes, Vinita.
They're gonna get greedy.
They'll get greed, right? एक desire पूरा हो गया तो अब next चाहिए मुझे, right? I want 2 laddus. I want 10 laddus. How come I didn't get? I got laddu. What? I didn't get gulab jamun. I want gulab jamun too. So greed develops. So when desire gets fulfilled, it causes greed. When it remains unfulfilled, it causes anger, frustration, or lamentation. So that is why Krishna says that mode of passion gives rise to greed, right? There is no end to that person's hankerings. He will keep wanting more and more. He will become greedy. Okay, so okay. So in this way, in this material world, you know, anything you try to achieve, you think I'll achieve this and I'll be satisfied. That is not going to happen, because if we are under the mode of passion, we'll keep wanting more and more. Dil mange more, right? We'll keep wanting more and more. And material happiness, no matter which way, it will bring us. Some kind of problem in the end. You know, अगर 10 gulab jamun खाओगे, so you will get what? You will get stomach upset, right? And if you don't eat anything, you don't get anything to eat, then you will get angry, you will get disease either way. So material happiness, which we think isn't happiness, is actually called a misnomer. There is no such thing as material happiness, because anything material really cannot bring you truly any happiness. So that was the point about greed. Now, in the next verse, 17th, we read that goodness brings knowledge. So we understand that, right? This person will go on the path of spirituality, hopefully one day. Mode of passion, we understood that this person is trying to fulfill his sense gratification desires, which will never be fulfilled completely. He will keep wanting more. Another analogy for sense gratification is given is scratching an itch. Have you ever felt that when you scratch an itch, you itch more? Right? इसलिए कई बार we get patients, right, that have this dermatitis or some other eczema or some other kind of itching problem. We tell those people, don't itch, don't scratch on it, because the more you scratch, the more you're going to itch. So similarly, these desires are like that. The more you fulfill them, the more you would hanker for many more things. So Krishna says to filter the desires, see which ones need to be fulfilled and which ones can be ignored. So ignore some of the desires and fulfill some of them. Okay, so that is that. And then ignorance, actually Krishna talks a lot about animal slaughter. And since we were on this topic today, let's read this part. I believe this is in verse 16. Okay, who can, I'll highlight the area. Who can volunteer to read? This is a big para that we are going to read. So this we are talking about, here, we can read from here. We're talking about mode of ignorance and how people in mode of ignorance have no idea what they're doing, why they're doing. For example, slaughtering animals is an act of ignorance, where a person is in complete illusion and he starts even killing animals and puts them inside his body, making his body a graveyard. Okay, Raina, you can read, please. Start from here and read till maybe till here.
Okay. Slaughtering poor animals is also due to the mode of ignorance. The animal killers do not know that in the future the animal will have a body suitable to kill them. That is the law of nature. In human society, if one kills a man, he has to be hanged. That is the law of the state. Because of ignorance, people do not perceive that there is a complete state controlled by the Supreme Lord. Every living creature is a son of the Supreme Lord. and he does not tolerate even an ant's being killed. One has to pay for it. So indulgence in animal killing for the taste of the tongue is the grossest kind of ignorance. A human being has no need to kill animals because God has supplied so many nice things. If one indulges in meat eating anyway, it has to be understood that he is acting in ignorance and is making his future very dark. Of all kinds of animal killing, the killing of cows is most vicious because the cow gives us all kinds of pleasure by supplying milk.
Very bold. Thank you so much. And this is a famous verse that we recite when we offer a bhoga, right? Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanaitaya Cha Jagaditaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namah. Everybody's familiar with this? This is what we recite while offering bhoga, right? Okay. Okay. All right. Let's read one more verse. 14.18 is very, very important. It's one of the memory verses, so if you want to memorize, so we'll say it a few times. Try to memorize it. Okay, 14.18. I'll say it one time, and then whoever is willing, please unmute and just start reciting. Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha.
Urdhva gachanti sattvastha.
Madhye tishtanti rajasa.
Madhye tishtanti rajasa.
Jaganya guna vrittistha.
Jaganya guna vrittistha.
Adho gachanti tamasa.
Adho gachanti tamasa.
Okay, please recite a few times. Let's see who wants to say.
Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha.
You can just recite, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Madhye tishtanti rajasaha.
Madhye tishtanti
Tanti
rajasa.
rajasa.
Jaganya guna vrittistha.
Jaganya guna vrittistha.
Adho gachanti tamasaha.
Adho gachanti tamasa. Yes, Vaidik.
Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha.
Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha.
Madhye tishtanti rajasaha.
Madhye tishtanti rajasa.
Jaganya guna vrittistha.
Jaganya guna vrittistha.
Adho gachanti tamasaha.
Adho gachanti tamasa. Yes, Mataji. Namita Mataji.
Urdhvam gachanti satattvastha.
Urdhvam gachanti sattvastho.
Madhye tishtanti rajasa.
Madhye tishtanti rajasa.
Jaganyagana vrattistha.
Jaganya guna vrittistha.
Adho gachanti tamasa.
Adho gachanti tamasa. Yes, Murli Prabhu.
Urdhva gachanti sattvastha.
Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha.
Madhye tishtanti rajasa.
Madhye tishtanti rajasa.
Jaganya guna vrittistha.
Jaganya guna vrittistha.
Adho gachanti tamasa.
Adho gachanti tamasa. Okay, anybody else? Yes, Navya.
Urdhva sattvastha.
Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha.
Madhye tishtanti rajasaha.
Madhye tishtanti rajasa.
Jaganya guna vrittistha.
Jaganya guna vrittistha.
Adho gachanti tamasa.
Adho gachanti tamasa. Okay, anyone memorized it already and wants to say it by memory? Close your eyes and say it. Yes, Avni.
ऊर्ध्वं गच्छन्ति सत्त्वस्ता मध्ये तिष्ठन्ति राजसा जगन्यगुणवृत्तिस्त्य अधो गच्छन्ति तामसा.
Very bold. Thank you so much. Very nice. Anybody else? Yes, Vedi.
ऊर्ध्वं गच्छन्ति सत्त्वस्ता मध्ये तिष्ठन्ति राजसाः जगन्यगुणवृत्तिस्ता अधो गच्छन्ति तामसाः.
Very bold. Thank you so much. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So I think I sent like 4 or 5 verses from 14 chapters that are important. You want to memorize. Okay. So in this verse, anyone wants to read the translation?
I can.
Yes, Yama.
Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds.
Very bold. So we've already talked about this concept, right? The mode of goodness people will go upward, mode of passion in the earthly planets, and abominable, jaganya guna, abominable mode of ignorance go down to hellish worlds, or either lower planets, hellish planets, or lower species, right? Like animal species, right? So urdhvam typically always refers to upward, and adho typically refers to low. जैसे बोलते हैं ना adham, naradhama, that he is an adham purush. He is a very low class person. So that is adho, or lower. And jaganya typically means like a very bad, abominable action. So in illusion, in mode of ignorance, people do very abominable actions. So so we see that even with mode of goodness, the highest destination one can get is like Brahmalok or Satyalok, right? Brahmalok, also known as Satyalok, is the highest planet in the material creation. It is the topmost planet where the topmost Jiva, Brahmaji, lives, right? And his associates and his other Jivas that are very high class. Those people live in the Brahmalok. But that is just still in the material creation. It's not in the spiritual world. So Brahmaji is not residing in the spiritual world. He's residing in the material world, right? And we know from 8th chapter, Krishna said that whether you are Brahma in the Brahmalok, or you're coming from Brahmalok, or you're an ant from a Bhuvarlok, from a hellish planet, from lower planets, right? Wherever you're coming from, you will come back to the material world. You will not achieve me, right? So he says, Brahma bhuvanalaloka punar avartino Arjuna, that from Brahmalok to the hellish planets, you will come back. Punaravartino Arjuna, you will come back. Punaravartino Arjuna. Mamupete tu kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate. But having achieved me, punarjanmana vidyate, then there is no rebirth. Punarjanmana vidyate. So from topmost planet to the lowest planet, you can get come back to the material creation. And this is 8.16, and in 8.15 also he said the similar thing, that Mamupetya punarjanma dukkhalyam ashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gatam. Meaning, Mamupetya punarjanma dukkhalyam ashashvatam, that this world is a world of miseries. Dukkhalyam, it is a world of miseries. Ashashvatam, where everything is temporary. Everything is ashashvat. Everything is very temporary. This is anityam asukham lokam, right? That is why we are sent here to reform ourselves, to fix ourselves, so we can develop some love and devotion to the Lord. So we can ask these questions: why am I here? Why am I suffering under the 3 modes? So Krishna is actually he's pulling our strings through those three dolls that we saw, right? Mode of goodness, passion and ignorance. उनसे उन्होंने हमें बांध रखा है इस दुनिया में. तो उससे हमें free होके we have to go back to him. He says otherwise you will be in this dukkhalyam ashashvatam. But once you achieve me, mamupetya, then punarjanmana vidyate. Then there will be no coming back. So we should try really, really hard to get freed from these 3 modes and go back to him. And actually in the last few verses, right now he's just talking about the 3 modes. In the last few verses, Krishna will tell us how to get freed from these 3 modes. Arjun will ask him that question. In verse 21, you will see Arjun will ask him that question. So how do I get freed from these three modes? Okay. So there are three words that we should know. One is called in Hindi or in Sanskrit. We are called Guna Tita. Guna Tita means that we are under the control of three modes. We are Guna Tita. Ordinary jivas are under the control of three modes. Krishna is the master of three modes, right? So he's called Guna Dhisha. Guna Dhisha. He is the master of three modes, right? Right? He is not controlled by them. He's a master or controller of the three modes. And from Guna, sorry, I wrote this wrong. Gunadheen. Gunadheen. From Gunadheen, we have to become Gunatita. Gunatita means we have to transcend the three modes. So we are Guna Adheen. We are Adheen. We are under the control of three modes. From that, we have to transcend and become go beyond the three modes. That is Gunatita. So Arjun will ask him how from Gunadheen I can become a Gunatit. How can I transcend these three modes? You keep saying that we should transcend these three modes, but how can I do that, right? And remember, very important point, that if we are bound by these chains, then we can only be freed by somebody who is not chained, right? So a person who is not chained, who's free from these chains, can free the others, right? This is important to understand. So only somebody who's already a Gunatita can free us, or somebody who's a Gunadhisha, meaning Krishna, can free us. So who are Gunatitas? Example of Gunatita would be what? Can somebody give me an example of somebody who's transcended the three modes? In general, what kind of jivas?
Like the spiritual master.
Yes, like the Guru, right? Guru can free us. So a Guru, a Gunatita, somebody who's already transcended the three modes, can free us. So that's Guru is a jiva, Guru is not Bhagwan. So either the Bhagwan can free us or Guru can free us, right? So if we want to get freed from the three modes, we have to find somebody who's already freed from these three modes, from these chains. अगर खुद ही वो chain से बंधा हुआ है तो वो आपको chain से नहीं निकाल सकता, right? So that's why we take shelter of Prabhupada, we take shelter of the pure devotees of the Lord, of Prabhupada's disciples, and Krishna and Radharani, right, all the time. So, and this is very, very rare to find those people that are already Gunatita, that are already free from the three modes, right? And once you find them, you hold their lotus feet and don't let go. So once we have found the shelter of Prabhupada, we try to not let go of his, we get his association through his books, so we try not to let go of his books, right? It is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, very beautifully it is said, Brahmand Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva, Guru Krishna Prasad Pai Bhakti Lata Jiva. That in this Brahmand, in this universe, so many jivas are wandering. Brahmand Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva. But there is only few Bhagyavan Jiva, very fortunate people who get the mercy of Guru and Krishna. Guru Krishna Prasad Pai Bhakti Lata Bija, and get the seed of devotional service. There are very few people. So once we have been chosen to get the get this mercy, right? We didn't get this path through our efforts. We came here by the causeless mercy of Guru and Krishna. So once we have found this path, let's wholeheartedly stick to the path. Let's intensely chant for the mercy of Guru and Krishna and get out of this dukkhalema shashvatam, anityama sukham lokam, right? Get out of the control of the three chains, three modes. So we'll talk about this next time, about how to transcend the three modes. But 18th verse is important if everybody wants to memorize, and then we'll continue next time. Anybody has any questions or thoughts, or they want to share any points? Please share. Namita Mataji, we haven't heard from you today. You've been quiet today. It's Mother's Day, so please please speak your thoughts or realizations.
About this chapter, I started when we were reading in the middle of the 10th chapter. But this chapter has really hit my heart so far. I think if we understand this portion, the rest may become a little bit easier. So definitely, I'm really enjoying reading this chapter, like the mode of passion, ignorance, and goodness. I think this is like a lot of gist to it. If we can understand it, my understanding is it may get a little bit easier for the rest of it. So I'm really, really enjoying this chapter.
Thank you, Mataji. Are you able to apply this in the life? Like can you see which mode is coming over me? Why am I acting like this? Do you try to do that sometimes?
Yes, definitely. I try pretty much every day which mode I am in right now.
Right.
Or how I can get out of that, how I can get to a better mode, so definitely how it's said, in the last class, how we were talking about it, sometimes we're in mode of this, mode of passion. And I think that's so true. Like sometimes of the day, you definitely get into that mode. And the thing is to realize it and get out of it. That is the thing. If we can realize it and get out of that, and I think that's it. That's the biggest thing. If we can all do that, if I can do that, that will be it. It's hard. It's not easy, but we can do it. We just have to realize it and get out of it. That's it.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much. Yes, beautifully shared. Okay, anybody else wants to share anything? Hema, would you like to share? You've been very nicely attending. Thank you so much.
Yes, Hari Krishna. No, I really like the class. Like I think attending the classes is really nice, seeing the kids' enthusiasm and how they memorize the verses, and they're all like eager to read and share. So it's very inspiring when you see kids do that in front of you. You feel more inspired to like keep going. So I love the class and the way you explain things. So it's really nice to be in this association. It does make a difference, definitely. I think it's not just in theory, but actually when you attend, you really feel the difference. So thanks to Krishna for guide me.
Thank you so much. Next Saturday, actually, I wanted to invite all of you. Kids are taking their Bhagavad Gita exam. They're taking some kids have memorized 50 verses, some 75, some 25, some 108, different numbers. And they're taking an exam on 14th. Are all of you taking on 14th? Yes, okay. So please, all of you are welcome. We'll share the link when we have it on the group. It will be at about 10 a.m. I think next Saturday. And next Saturday is also Narsingh Chaturdashi. So please, everybody celebrate. Next Sunday, we'll spend some time talking about Narsingh Dev. Prahlad Maharaj's character is very, very strong, very, very amazing. And many, there is so much to talk about Narsingh Bhagwan. But we'll try to do some some katha on Saturday also in the evening, Narsingh katha. And I will talk about the Ugra Narsimha from Mayapur, and I'll talk about the Ahobilam where Narsingh Dev appeared. So that will be very different, hopefully different than just the story of Narsingh and Prahlad that you already know. So we won't go into the story at all. We'll go into many other things, but not the story, because I'm assuming everybody knows the story. So please celebrate Narsingh Chaturdashi. It's Ekadashi Prasad only that day. And those that are fasting can break with Ekadashi Prasad at dusk. Dusk is when Narsingh Dev appeared from the pillar. So, but in the morning, kids have their exams. And in the evening, we'll do the Narsingh Katha and Aarti and Abhishek and all. So actually, Nirbhay's mom is also taking the exam. Mom, if you're still there, can you say some words
Yes,
about?
yes, I'm here.
So would you like to inspire people? Remember last year, probably you did not know many shlokas at all, and by now you know 50 or more.
Yeah, that's very. It was a challenge posted by Navya. She said once when I was trying to memorize a shloka, Navya looked at her dad and she said, "Dad, I don't think she can do it."
I remember that, yes. And she gave you certificate for one shloka. You can only memorize, you have only memorized one, here is your certificate.
I'd still, yes.
So thank you for doing this. So yeah, it will be very inspiring. So we'll share. Please, please attend. Anita Mataji, want to share something?
Yes, Mataji, first of all, I'm so sorry. I like, even though this is like my favorite and very meaningful class, adding so much meaning to my life as well as my kids. So you can imagine how valuable these classes are. From last 2-3 weeks, it's just, and it's, I think next few weeks again, I'm going to be in the same mode. But I'm hearing on and off, and about this chapter, of course, it has helped me to identify my own mood. So we all go through different kinds of mood at different times, and if we know why or how it is happening, then we are able to do something about it. So whenever I go in the mode of ignorance or even passion, I start chanting. Like even I don't have the beats or I don't have anything, I just start feeling that now I'm getting into the mode of, tamasic mode. It's not going to help me any more. So I start chanting. I just count on my fingers and I just do that. And I just leave it to Krishna that he will bring me out of whatever I am going through right now. And then yeah, at least I'll come to the mode of goodness where I'll chant with the beats or, I'll do the proper things. So that's how I am surviving from last so many months.
Wow. Very bold. Yes, Mataji, that is what Prabhupada prescribed. Actually, Nirbhay Prabhu also does the same thing when we fight. So all the great devotees have the same technique that Prabhupada recommended.
Other thing about Auntie, she's such a great inspiration for me. Just that Navya challenged her and she memorized 50 verse, and look at me, my 2 children every day, they are challenging me. They are, making fun of me. You can't even remember one, they will tell, and I'm still like, क्या बोलते हैं उसको हिंदी में, जो नहीं सुनता है, नहीं सुनते हुए, और I just remember one जो last week मैंने बताया था. उसके आगे मेरी गाड़ी नहीं बढ़ रही है.
That's okay, Mataji. Everybody has their own potencies and skills, and we should not get focused on just one. We have to grow in Krishna consciousness. So there are many other sevas that we can do. But I'll tell you one, look at Krishna's arrangement, like for mom, how it happened. Last year, if you remember, Amoglila Prabhu came to give a lecture on something, I think Mahaprabhu's appearance or something. And Mom was here in US, and she asked him this question, I'm not able to memorize verses, can you tell me something? And he told her some tricks, and he also told her not to worry too much about it. It's if it comes organically, naturally, fine. If not, you don't have to like really bend your brain about it. But he gave her tricks also. And this was last year. And now she has learned 50 verses and she's going to get the certificate from Amoglila Prabhu, because he's coming to give the certificate, right? So that is like completely Krishna's arrangement. Because a pure devotee of the Lord, he puts his eyes on you, है ना? देख भी लिया तो देखने से ही तर जाते हैं कई बार. So it is said, right? साधु संगा सर्व शास्त्र कहे, लव मात्र साधु संगा सर्व सिद्धि है. That even for a moment's association with the devotee of the Lord, sarv siddhi hai. That you get complete best destination. Okay. Yes, Mataji.
So I think I have the same problem. Is I cannot remember verses. I used to, but I think, I don't know, now not anymore. So if we can share some of those tricks, that would be great, and I can try to learn, like I'll learn one at a time, and after that, I cannot remember the verses. So I think we are here in the same boat, cannot remember those verses. I can read, I love to read, I can chant and all that, but remembering the verse. And then my mom, she can remember, and I ask her the same question is, Mom, how do you do it? But I cannot remember the verse.
Sure, Mataji, that's okay. Like we said, the Prabhupada has given us, that is why he's given us so many limbs of Krishna consciousness, right? Cooking is one of the main ones actually. dressing the deities, deity worship, doing proper arti, preaching, right? The verses I think are mostly useful for preaching, because he said that the preachers should be like lawyers. He said that we should be able to quote shastras like a lawyer quotes the law book, right? One time when there was a attack as in a legal suit on ISKCON that ये लोग brainwash कर रहे हैं सबका. So there was a court case. So he said, he told his devotees, he never had to go to the court, right? The devotees went, his devotees. He told the devotees, his disciples, convert the courtroom into a Bhagavatam class. Convert the courtroom trial into a Bhagavatam class. Quote verses left, right, and center, right? So they can see that whatever we are saying, we are not just saying whimsically. We have not made up anything. This is word of God. This is apurush vakya. This is apurushya. Our Vedas, our scriptures are apurushya, meaning they're not written by an ordinary person. They are apurushya. This is Ved vakya that we are speaking. But if not memorizing, we can at least chant these prayers, like prayers of Queen Kunti, Bhishma's prayers, right? They're very glorious prayers. Prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. If we have time next time, we'll read the chapter 9 and 10 from Canto 7, which is the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. You will see what an amazing verses or things he's saying in chapter 9 and 10 of 7th Canto. We'll read those, just the translation. There are about 100 verses. We'll all take turns to read like 5 verses each on occasion of Narsingh Chaturdashi. But yeah, if we can, we don't have to memorize. If we can just take delight in reading books and hearing books, then that is what is mostly needed. Okay, shall we stop and do one round of chanting if you're all okay?